It's basically there's a couple main differences between buying an index fund or buying mutual funds. In my opinion, the index funds are going to be a better option and be better for investors over the long term. A couple different reasons. When we buy an index fund, we're not dealing with management and possibility of that management turning over, leaving for whatever reason, getting a new job, opening up their own hedge fund if they're doing really well or something like that, and a change at the top, which could dramatically change the impact of how that mutual fund performs. Another reason is the expense ratio. What's the expenses on a mutual fund opposed to just your basic index fund? And if we look at this chart real quick, I can show that to you. Basically, the expense ratio on the SPDR S&P 500 index fund is 0.09%. We compare that out with the Vanguard at 0.31%, the PIMCO at 0.55%, or even the Goldman Sachs Large Growth Cap at 1.71%. That's a major difference here. We're talking the Goldman Sachs is 19 times higher or 19 times more expensive than just the S&P 500 index fund. And that's going to play a big part of your long-term returns, taking that cost into effect here. So that's another reason. I also, if we look at the chart, we got the dividend yield there. The dividend yield on the S&P 500 index is 1.95%. And if you run that across there, you can see the next best one is the PIMCO one at 1.27. And even that Goldman Sachs, the most costly index fund I have up on here, is only paying 0.39%. So again, these products and these mutual funds are costing you more money, and on a dividend basis, they're paying you less per year. And the last thing, obviously, you can see there is their performance over 1 month, 3 year, 1 year, 3 and 5. And while some of these mutual funds have outperformed the S&P 500 index over smaller periods of time and everything, there's not a single one of them that's outperformed the S&P over the 5 year or even over some of the other periods. And that's one of the major things we need to look at here is, any of these guys, any of these mutual funds might outperform over 1 year, but they're just barely doing it. But over a long period of time, it's very difficult to totally, blow the market out of the water. And even if they are doing that or, beating the market by a little bit, we have to account in for that dividend yield and those expenses and how that's going to change the overall return on your portfolio. And just to wrap this up, I'm not saying that there's no mutual funds, or you're not going to be able to find any mutual fund out there that has outperformed the S&P 500 index over a period of, 1, 5, 10, whatever it is, 15 years, or that, doesn't pay a higher dividend or, isn't very close in expenses and costs. But as a whole, the mutual fund market and mutual fund arena is just littered with products that have underperformed the S&P 500. So on a basis and without spending a ton of time and everything, it's just smarter and it's just easier for the average investor that doesn't want to, dig through different stocks and dig through different company filings just to buy the S&P 500 index, sit back, relax, and not really have to worry about things.